Lucky Boys Podcast.
You look like a nerd, right? You look like very straight-laced person. And then somewhere along the line, something in your head went, you know what? No, I want to reinvent myself and become Leo.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
So what was that? Did you get cheated on?
The transformation.
Did you get like one of your friends got a girl that you wanted? Like, because it's usually that. Usually when I see men transform, it's because they want women. They're tired of being left behind, or they got cheated on.
No, that did not happen to me. Honestly, it's really just been a gradual progression.
It could go in the other way, where they got a girlfriend and maybe she was your battery pack and she opened you up and said, hey, I think you'd be really handsome with this haircut. I think you'd be really handsome if you went down a size. I think you'd be really handsome if you maybe had a salad once in a while and went to the gym.
No, it's just, I think as Asians, we're always comparing ourselves with each other. So I think the more I went into the Western world, like I think growing up was just with a lot of Asian immigrants. And then as I go to college, then I go to my jobs, I'm really the only Asian around. And now, to be honest, I feel like I'm just comparing myself to everyone else. Like I'm not just comparing myself to another Asian person. Like how can I get myself to be comparable to, say, a white coworker, Well, you look in the magazines, right? Like you didn't see Asian guys in magazines or movies. So you're like, okay, it's always these white dudes. Like, what is it that they have that I don't? So how can I elevate myself to this beauty standard that America has? But also gradually, like I said, like I was just really learning about fashion and how that, it's all trial and error. So you're like, you put on a nice suit and you're getting good compliments. People treat you differently. You're like, wait a minute, this works. So then you do it again next time. And then you're like, wait, how can I stand out even more with this suit? Like this suit fits great, but like now next time I can wear a pattern suit, a different color, and then boom, boom, boom. Every time you're getting more and more success. And then over time, you're like, this is my personal style.
You want to have the same respect when you walk into a room without having to like just being overlooked all the time.
Yeah.
Is that what I'm?
No, that's definitely a big part of it.
I know there's so many Asians where they feel like successful Asians, academically off the charts, and they're tall or they're handsome or whatever, even if they're not tall, but they hold their own in some form, but they still walk into a room and go, how do I become adjacent somehow? How do I become an equal? How do I do this without looking like I'm peacocking, without working extra hard in order to attain the status? And it's not even just white people. Like I've seen Asians seeing if they can be looked fairly with black people as well, with Hispanic people. It's just depending where they're trying to get in. Like for example, I play basketball, right? And I did boxing when I was a kid. And all the Asian people now that I see coming up, and I have this conversation with them, they tell me, man, I'm tired of being overlooked, or people saying some wild things to me while I'm playing the court or while I'm in a fight. They don't like the way they're initially being viewed as, and they always feel like they have something to prove.
That's part of society. Like this is the culture you want to fit in. These are the rooms you want to be in. And so if you are the only Asian in that room, you're gonna have to do things to fit in and to adjust, right?
Like, so does that make us never really like insiders? We're always outside trying to get a seat at the table?
I mean, I think part of that is the Asian
is that the reality that a lot of people face
in essence, but I think that's changing as more rooms are becoming more diverse, but it starts with somebody, and it starts with somebody to get into those rooms. Like you could be the only Asian in that group of Black, Hispanic crowd playing basketball. You could be in a room where it's mostly about hip hop and certain fashion,
or corporate America.
But that's why I love about fashion is that like you can see me at the red carpet for Batman, and you're also gonna see me at NBA All-Star Weekend in Cleveland. because I love both things and I know how to dress accordingly to both things. I'm not going to wear a suit at the NBA All-Star Weekend. It doesn't make any sense. You go to NBA All-Star Weekend, you're wearing your sneakers, your off-white Nike sneakers. You're wearing your best streetwear stuff.
Right. You're not going to wear your Kobe jersey to Batman.
Exactly. So that's how like fashion, like you dress accordingly to the crowd.
Good teaching moments for people that may not be used to that diversity or may have that initial unconscious bias towards certain people, and then when they walk in, like, oh, he's tall, he's fashionable, he actually kind of cool to talk with.
Yeah, I feel like at these things you're really changing people's perspective, because like they don't really see Asians in many circles, or
well, at least not in those events.
At least, yeah. And so like to see an Asian not only attend and be there, but also dress to the part and like fit in, but also with confidence. That's like, that really speaks volume to like, oh no, he belongs. Like he is part of this thing. Like he's not just some outsider walking in.
And then for someone to actually shake things up or change anything, you have to actually be in the room to do so, right?
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, you want to change things up, but how can you do that when you're outside of that room from all these people that are tastemakers or trendsetters, right? You have to be in the room first. So it is important for us to understand, like, we're overlooked because we're not in the room. And that's the most important part. Once we get in there, we could change shit up. We could change that perspective of who we are. Generally,
we're not trained in that direction where when we're young, well, what is the big emphasis? To get A's, to succeed in school, to culturally
academics and
it's
intellectual,
and then
stability,
get a really good job after school. Whether it's a doctor, lawyer, engineer, something that just blows it out and has job security no matter what the market is.
Right.
And how many of those people would have been great fashion designers, great MMA fighters, great basketball, football players, right, or baseball? I mean, because if you look at baseball right now, who's the best baseball player?
Yeah. It's insane. It's like by far too. Like he's
not even close.
Breaking records. That's like insane. And I think that's where I think like it's funny. Like your relationship with fashion is so different from mine. Like like what you're kind of getting deeper at too is like what also clicked was that like I realized I can use fashion as like my weapon, as my shield, as my advantage. Like once I realized like, oh, all it took is this jacket to make me get into this room. And
can a jacket really do that?
And then I can go into these other rooms, or like once you realize how powerful certain like fashion is, it's like, oh, like how powerful a suit is, or like by wearing certain brands, these are more global appealing brands.
Now explain that. A lot of people listening may go, what is he talking? How does a jacket get me in a room?
Yeah, so it's just like, having a piece that people talk about or having a piece that people appreciate and understand, because fashion is, when you get very deep into it, is that art, right? Like, oh, you're wearing an off-white piece, and if someone else in that room loves off-white, or someone else in the room loves like Saint Laurent, they know what you're wearing. So by you wearing that, you already have something in common. And so you can say that in other rooms about watches, about cars, about traveling. Like the fact that you can talk about certain places you've been to, that means you have a shared interest, a shared passion, and you can go from there. So like it could be as simple as that, but obviously it's over time that it built. And I think that's another turning point where it's like, oh wow, like I just got to dress this way to give me more success, to open more doors. And it's like, okay, that's a no-brainer. I can do that again. I can use that as my advantage. And that's what keeps kind of clicking and open other doors. And at the same time too, brands appreciate that. Like brands and marketing agencies, they're like, we've never seen an Asian guy like this before.
Lucky Boys Podcast.